guys, so back at another card fight vanguard deck profile. So hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. So let's get started. This time, it's my gold Paladin Percival deck profile. Yes, I made a Percival deck because Percival deserves its own deck because, hey, it's a good card. So let's go ahead and get this started. But before that, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. Now let's get started. First up, the starter is Spring Breeze Messenger. So it's basically the standard starter. When rolled upon, you get to draw a card. Then if your opponent's vanguard's a grade 1 or greater, you get a quick show ticket. So, get an extra draw and a 5k show that you're most likely just going to discard for discard effects. So, still a really good starter, and Spring Breeze Messenger because it just looks cool and it kind of fits the deck a bit more. 4 copies of Halo Shield Mark starting off the triggers. So basically, the draw PG. It's draw trigger, and it's a PG. Perfect placement. 4 copies. 4 fronts. 8 fronts with the Dontagal and the Nalas, and 4 heals with Front Tank Sage, because why not? Now onto the actual deck itself. 3 copies of Stronghold of the Blackchains, Hoel. 8k base, 10k shield, continuous rearguard circle. When your other unit in the same column as this unit that was placed this turn gets plus 5. So anything that's placed in the same column as it this turn will get plus 5. Then, if Advance of the Blackchains Kaiden is on your van or rear, it gets plus 10 instead of plus 5. So even if Kaiden ain't in the same column, the thing in the same column as it's still getting plus 10 as long as Kaiden's on the field. Really nice card. You can call it behind the vanguard, so every time you ride, the vanguard gets more and more power. You can just call it to one of the rearguard circles. Either way, it's a really good card. 3 copies. 3 copies of Listener of the Truth, Din Drain. 7k base, 10k shield, auto rear guard when placed by your card's abilities, Soul Blast 1 and draw a card, or countercharge 1 and this unit gets plus 3k till end of turn. It's either a 10k booster / attacker with a countercharge, or you get to draw a card with a 7k. I honestly prefer the countercharge ability. This deck does counter blast a decent amount, but there are times where the draw might help, so 3 copies. 4 copies of Knight of Vitality, Brenius. 8k base, 10k shield, auto rearguard when your grade 3 or greater vanguard is placed. Put this unit to soul, draw a card, and call a card from your hand to rear. This deck focuses on calling stuff by abilities. It doesn't benefit as much off of it from Gurgit, but it still benefits from just having multiple rearguards, and this makes it so that you don't have to suffer a lot of hand card damage when doing that. So 4 copies of Brenius. And next up, 4 copies of Little Battlertron. Auto rearguard circle when placed, counterblast 1, and this unit gets plus 5k till end of turn, so it becomes a 13k booster or attacker. And auto vanguard or rearguard once attack hits a vanguard. If your vanguard is grade less than or equal to the opponent's, look at top card and call it to rear. So pretty much you can call this down as an early rush. Your opponent most likely takes it. You flip over the top card. Whether it can hit or not, you can at least call it to the back row so that they can't murder it. Or you can call it to the front row and continue the rush. Either way, really nice card. 4 copies. Onto grade 2s. 3 copies of Advance of the Blackchains, Kaiden. 9k base, 5k shield, auto rearguard circle when placed, counterblast 1 and discard a card from your hand. Look at top 3, call 1 from on them to rear, shuffle the rest back to deck, and if Stronghold of the Blackchains Hoel is on the field, whether it's on van or rear, you get to draw a card from it. So that's really helpful. You get to basically get a free unit to the field and possibly a draw. If you combine this with Hoel, if you call the unit from this effect to the same column as Hoel, it's going to get plus 10. So really nice card. 3 copies. 4 copies of Knight of Strong Favors, Berengara. Still don't know how to say that name. 9k base, 5k shield, auto rearguard circle when placed by card's abilities, perform one of the effects below. Either counterblast 1 to soul charge 1, or soul blast 1 to countercharge 1. You could kind of keep this going with a loop of Din Drains, because since Din Drain will use up some Soul Blast, you can use this to Soul Charge. Or since you're most likely going to use a Countercharge ability, you can just Soul Blast off this and Countercharge and then use this to fix your Soul whenever you do end up getting a Soul problem. So 4 copies because it can fix the Soul / Counterblast problem. And 4 copies of Oath Liberator, Agavale. So auto Vanguard Circle, 9k base by the way, when placed, counterblast 1, look at top 3, call 1 from among them to rear, and then put the rest at the bottom. So you get a free unit, and auto rearguard circle when it attacks, put another rearguard into your soul, and this unit gets plus 10k till end of battle. At the end of the battle, return this unit to your hand. So you get to clear up 2 cards on your board at once. If you're playing against any deck that punishes your rear guards, this is a card for you. Such as Spark Hercules. Doesn't really punish them as much as it weakens them. Kagero, for sure. Well, you're kind of just making their job easier for them, but still. Gridora, for damn sure. And any Link Joker deck that involves Remote Chaos. Yeah. But still, a really good card, and it can get you resources, and if it's placed on Van, you can get a free search out of it. So 4 copies. 4 copies of Battlefield Storm Sagramore. 12k base, Axel gift, auto vanguard or rear guard when placed from hand, soul boss 1 to draw a card, and you get to call a card from hand to rear. So, if you're wondering why everything in this deck calls by effects even though it doesn't need to, it's just basically for Din Drain and Brigenia to be able to proc off at all times, and having all those options are still good, especially when everything else can still plus off it. So you get a free draw, and you get to call something to rear. Normally that's a Din Drain or Brigenia depending on what you need between a booster and an attacker. So 4 copies. And finally, 4 copies of the Ace, Bluish Flame Liberator, Percival. I just want to say, he looks cool. I didn't like Bluish Flames, and I still don't like them, but when a card this cool looking is made, I gotta put it in a deck. So anyways, 12k base, Axel gift, and continuous Vanguard circle. All of your units on additional rear guards get plus 5,000 power. This is why I don't want to put it in a Gurga deck, or any other deck, because it has a Vanguard-based skill. I know the other skill is a Vanguard or Rearguard skill, but because one of its skills is Vanguard restricted, I don't feel comfortable putting it in another deck where there's another card that I consider the main grade 3. I'd rather it be in its own separate deck, hence why I'm doing this deck profile. This is my reason for it. But anyways, that's really good, because anything on an Excel gift is guaranteed to have plus 5k power during either player's turn. So if it's on an Excel 2, it basically just has an Excel 1 during your turn, and on your opponent's turn, it gets the effects of the Excel 2, but it doesn't get the extra 5k. So, still really good. That's not its only ability. Auto Vanguard or Rearguard, when placed, if your Vanguard is a grade 3 or greater, counterblast 1 and discard a card from your hand, get an imaginary gift Axel, search your deck or drop zone for up to 1 Oath Liberator Aggro Veil, call it to Rearguard, and if you search your deck, shuffle it. This ability will activate once per turn by a card with the same card name. So, that's really good. It's just a straight up, when placed, get a gift, and you get it to search your either deck or drop zone for Oath Liberator. For some reason, I go through my Oath Liberators really quickly. And when I say really quickly, I mean by the time I use this once, all of them are out of deck, so I just keep recycling them from drop. But still, really good. You can get stuff back from drop, or you can just straight up deck thin. And you get more and more Excel gifts each turn, plussing to your hand and getting more units that will get plus 5. So, really nice card, 4 copies. And then for your gifts, you got the Excel 1. When acquired, you can put this marker in a front or rear, and in this unit, it gets plus 10 during your turn. This, you do not need to use, ever. You do not need to use this ever, no matter what, unless you really need to kill your opponent, for whatever reason, really quickly. But this deck should never need to do that. Unless you're playing against some crazy control deck, you should never need to pick Excel 1. Excel 2, on the other hand, you should, because you get to draw out of it, and it gets plus 5, and then Aggravale basically makes it an Excel 1. So like I said, unless you need to kill your opponent really fast, Excel 2 is the way to go. Then your Quick Shield, it's basically a 5k shield because it activates when one of your units is attacked. So normally discard fodder. If you somehow keep this in hand by the time you get to grade 3, this is normally what you discard. Normally I either discard it beforehand for the sake of it's a 5k guard for something, or I'll just straight up discard it for the cost of Percival. Either way. And that was the deck. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and donate to the Patreon. I'll see you all next one. Don't forget to stand up your Vanguard.